All right, so for my corruption tank, we are using the Infernus weapon with a carnelian gem. Woodswarden. For our helmet, we have the Expedition Captain's helm. The chest piece, we have Neshitune's breastplate. Now, if I had the Expedition Captain's breastplate, I would be using this, but what's important about the breastplate is that you have the sturdy energy passive. For the gauntlets, I have the Expedition Captain's gauntlets. You can guess, for the greaves, we have the Expedition Captain's greaves, and for the boots, we have the Expedition Captain's sabatons. For our shield, we're using a sturdy corrupted ward / shield ward shield. This is really good for fighting bosses like Thorpe that do a lot of slash damage with his greatsword. If you're going against a boss that does thrust damage like Scylla, you'd want to swap out this shield for something that had thrust shield ward on it. For necklace, we are using Blessing of Forefathers. This necklace is great for tanking. It has health, divine, and fortified recovery. So if you do take a big burst when fighting a boss, you'll get an automatic kick of 10% fortify, which comes up every 90 seconds for its cooldown. But if you're tanking right, you shouldn't be needing to use this more than once in a fight. For our ring, we're using Smooth Bone Ring. So the combination of leeching from the Smooth Bone Ring plus the life stealing from Infernus will give you a nice generation of health when you're spamming light and heavy attacks on trash mobs. For our earring, we're using Doom's Chance earring, which comes with refreshing toast, and regenerating. If you don't have a Doom's Chance earring, a Champion's earring will work just fine. Just make sure that you adjust your attributes as needed. For our attributes, we are rocking 300 strength, so we can get great on our light and heavy attacks, because we will be spamming light attacks to open up the best chance for our Infernus weapon from proccing cooldown reduction. And we also want to be getting this stamina regen being faster when performing light and heavy attacks. This passive is really important when fighting bosses, especially with active blocking. You want to be able to block the main moves from the boss and then spam light attacks and grit through the attacks that don't do a lot of damage, so you can get a window of opportunity for your stamina to replenish. Then, of course, put the rest of the points into Constitution, so that we're going all the way up to where we increase our physical and elemental armor, and we're just getting as much HP as possible. Only 13.4k HP, but I'm able to tank pretty much any M10 for corruption, whether it's Tempest, Dynasty Shipyard, or Depths. This setup works really well for me. Now for our abilities, for Sword and Shield, this is how I have my Sword Master tree. We're getting Whirling Blade, Reverse Stab, and Defiant Stance. Most of the enemies and bosses that you will be going against do melee damage, so that's why we have Sturdy Shield and only the Sturdy Grip. I've never really needed to have Elemental Resistance or High Grip for tanking any of the bosses, and my stamina regeneration has never really warranted having to go with Invigorating Bulwark. With Infernus, one with the shield passive is not really needed, and because we're just spamming light attacks, that's why I have Final Blow, Achilles Heel to combo with Opportunist and Confidence. If your healer's doing their job and keeping your health topped off, you're going to get an extra 15% damage. And of course, because of leadership, you'll get an additional 10% damage for you and the rest of your team. For the attack combinations, you want to be going with AoE Taunt on Defiant Stance, follow up with Whirling Blade, so you apply the 5% rend, and then finish off with Reverse Stab. Once these three abilities have been used, your Reverse Stab is going to reduce the cooldown of your Defiant Stance and your Whirling Blade by 25%. And then when you follow up with the light attacks from Infernus, every light attack that you hit is going to be reduced by 2.9%. Now, to be noted, this is 2.9% per target. So if you have a big group of enemies that you are light attacking, you will get 2.9% cooldown reduction for every single target. Again, you will get 2.9% cooldown reduction for every single target hit. So if you have a big clump of enemies and you're spamming light attacks, which you can do because you have 300 strength with the grit, you'll be able to regenerate your Defiant Stance very quickly, sometimes within only a few seconds after using your Reverse Stab. For the hammer, we are using Armor Breakers so that we can apply a rend on our targets. It's also a grit move. So sometimes I'll actually use Armor Breaker to grit through an animation that an enemy is doing. It's also a really good ability to use when you need to block, break an enemy that is turtling up with a stamina shield. I also use Wrecking Ball for the same reason. I can knock down enemies and CC them, but more importantly, I can also give myself a 20% fortify for 7 seconds. The rest of these passives are just designed to allow me to buff my heavy attacks as much as possible. But the main thing here to note is that while you are doing a heavy attack, and anytime that you have grit active, you will get 12% damage reduction. For a third ability, we're going with Shockwave. This is our taunting ability. You must have a Carnelian gem in order for this ability to taunt. We're also picking up Outnumbered for the extra absorption. Concussive Impact to increase the damage of our hammer attacks when an enemy has one of our debuffs, specifically Exhaust. And we have Prevailing Spirit to give us 35% damage replenishment whenever you use a Crowd Crusher ability, which will be our Shockwave. Now, one thing that I do like about this build is that we have cooldown reduction on quick recovery from our heavy attacks and from acceleration, which comes from our light attacks. Each of these will give 7% cooldown reduction per target attack up to a maximum of 5 targets. So what this means is you can heavy attack 5 enemies at once and get a 35% damage reduction, or you can light attack up to 5 enemies at once for a 35% cooldown reduction. However, the enemies must have a debuff on them. So a really easy way of doing this is to either hit them with a Shockwave and then just follow up with light attack spam, or just be rocking out heavy attacks, maintaining that 12% damage reduction from your grit to just bruise through your enemies. Another way you could do this, if let's say you want to stay on your hammer build a little bit longer, and let's say you're just swinging heavies and you don't want to use the light attack cooldown reduction, you can put this point into I can do this all day, and this will allow you to actually block on your hammer bar. But I find that this setup is a little bit more balanced in terms of giving me good cooldown reduction against any enemies that I'm going against. Great Corrupted Ward set to start with would be the Spectral Tempestuous Set. It'll come with Corrupted Ward in all its pieces. So if you get 5 pieces, that's 25% corruption absorption from corruption damage. And you can get this by doing the repeatable quest that you find up here by Tempest Heart. There will be a quest in the church, and you just keep spamming that quest over and over and over again. Thank you for watching my video. Please like and subscribe and follow my Twitch channel.